Just ahead on CTV News, Governor Moore reveals his new design for the Key Bridge. Plus, the County Council addresses budget concerns within the county. And we sit down with a county executive candidate. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening. This is CTV News for February 4th. I'm Mariah Jalad.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, the Prince George's County Council got an update today on the financial outlook for 2025 and 2026. A big topic of discussion was how federal funding might change now that a second Trump administration is in office. Council members are preparing for possible funding cuts, especially with a budget deficit already looming for 2025-2026. Now they're waiting to get a clearer picture before finalizing their financial plans.
Our residents have not felt the true limitations of budget. Now we're facing that. In addition, with this administration, we're looking at, as you can see, we're trying to get the exact number of federal workers. That's what I was asking for. But we're looking at maybe even 40,000 federal workers that have received now a letter basically saying, accept this, this package. How does that affect us? Because one of the things that we faced during the recession was high foreclosures. That's what really led us to have a hardcore budget, because once you have foreclosure, people can't pay their property taxes. So that's going to highly impact us, especially when 70% of our income comes from residential tax base. So if it does, we have a bigger issue that we have to address.
And the county currently faces a $170 million budget gap ahead of fiscal year 2026.
And the new Francis Scott Key Bridge is one step closer to reality. Governor Wes Moore unveiled a rendering of the new bridge at a news conference this afternoon. As you can see, the cable-stayed structure will have two towers. It will stand taller and wider than the old bridge, which collapsed last March when a cargo ship collided with it. It would also accommodate 4 lanes.
That just shy of 1 year ago, on March 26th, I got a call in the middle of the night, and I learned that the dolly had slammed into the Key Bridge and brought it down.
And the bridge is expected to open to traffic in 2028, and it will cost about $1.9 billion. Well, as technology evolves at a rapid speed, it can be hard for laws and policy to keep up. That can leave citizens vulnerable to online attacks without any legal protection or ways to fight back. 2 bills in the Maryland State Senate would criminalize malicious AI impersonations.
It has to do with creating a narrative that's not true.
All it takes is a 20-second recording of your voice to generate hours of artificial speech. It can be so realistic, even AI experts have a tough time differentiating real from fake. Current laws in Maryland outline no punishments for creating or distributing harmful AI recordings and pictures of a person, impersonations that could destroy reputations. That was the case last year at a Baltimore high school.
There was an audio recording, which turned out to be a deepfake, of the principal saying racist and anti-Semitic things about the community. And it really, had a huge impact on the principal, obviously, who didn't do it. But then it also, the county had to put, police force outside his home to protect him and stuff like that. And it really just impacted the high school in a major way. It turns out that it was a disgruntled employee, who was retaliating over something. But when I was speaking to the state's attorney, which was Scott Schellenberger, he said he really didn't have the legal tools to bring the individual in for a penalty that was equal to the crime.
Senator Katie Fry Hester is sponsoring Senate Bill 362, which classifies AI impersonations as forgeries and allows the prosecution of the person that created it for defamation. The crime could carry a jail sentence of up to 3 years. As AI becomes more widespread, protecting the public is important, especially considering how easy the tools are to use.
All you need to do is take 20 seconds of a person's voice. So it could be a phone recording, a voicemail that they left. It could be, just any recording, and it takes 20 seconds of that particular voice, and it creates the replica. And at that particular portion, all you need to do is use the text-to-speech portion, where you could write a whole text, and again, it could clone that particular person's voice. Also, it could be used for malicious purposes.
The bill proposal brings state law up to date with current technology.
So now that we're approaching or part of the AI world, we need to make sure that we have bills that correspond with those particular technologies.
Another bill Senator Hester is sponsoring deals with an AI issue that's even more common.
The Pikesville principal case was, we've seen that once. What is unfortunately much more common is the use of non-consensual sexual imagery.
Also known as revenge porn, which is already illegal in Maryland, but Senate Bill 360 updates current legislation to include computer-generated situations.
Just last year in 2024, there were over 200 million visits to websites where, like Undress Me with AI, where people are taking real people's, faces and then having them have like fake, bodies doing pornographic things, either video or still. And that can have just horrible consequences for young people.
Both these bills give people action in court if they're the victims of harmful AI depictions.
The forgery thing will really give anybody who has an image of themselves or an audio of themselves, faked, both criminal penalties and a private right of action to file a lawsuit. And that bill is really intended to go after all those cases where we don't know what they are yet, and we don't want to be in a position where, we say, well, I wish I had done this last year, because now this person has no retribution.
And Senator Hester has a number of AI-related bills on the docket this session, including one establishing a pilot program to provide expert testimony on court cases involving artificial intelligence.
Well, Attorney General Anthony Brown joined 11 other attorneys general warning federal employees about the Trump administration's so-called deferred resignation program, which offers federal employees pay through September 30th if they resign by February 6th. Now, according to the AG's office, unions are helping employees protect their rights as federal workers face a new buyout offer. In a press release, the office stated these employees provide critical services that Americans depend on, and this buyout is just the latest move against the government's ability to support the public.
A momentary sigh of relief for two of America's largest trading partners. President Donald Trump has agreed to pause his promised trade tariffs for 30 days. The pause comes after Mexico and Canada have agreed to appease Trump's concerns about drug trafficking and border security. Mexico has promised to post 10,000 National Guard troops on the southern border. Canada has also agreed to a border security deal, which includes the appointment of a fentanyl czar. In a social media post, President Trump called the development fairness for all. That said, a levy of 10% on Chinese imports did go into effect today, with China announcing retaliatory tariffs on a number of American products. And there are fears the president's next tariff target could be the European Union. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Mariah Jalad.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Still to come.
A town in Prince George's installs new stop sign cameras. I'm Katara Jones. I'll tell you exactly where those devices are coming up on CTV News.
There's a lot of need in the world, and if you're like me, it can seem too big to make a difference. But that's why I decided to start volunteering with Mercy Ships. Dedicating a few weeks or months of my life every year in the service of others has brought me more than I could ever imagine. When you volunteer with Mercy Ships, you'll find your purpose, your people, and your place in this world. And all you gotta do is visit mercyships.org today.
Welcome back. The site of the new FBI headquarters is back in the news. In 2023, the General Services Administration selected Greenbelt as the new home of the FBI, but now a report from the GSA says the selection process was flawed, which caused Greenbelt to be chosen over Springfield, Virginia. But while it expressed concerns, the report stopped short of recommending the Greenbelt selection be scrapped. Now, part of the issue is costs. The report indicates that costs used to decide on a location only showed the price of acquiring and preparing the land, but did not include the full dollar amount of the move. The investigation also found the cost totals overstated how much rent the government would pay for the Springfield location. That said, it remains unclear if the Trump administration wants to see the headquarters move to Maryland.
Well, a new Carrollton man connected to multiple sex abuse cases throughout the area finally learns his fate in court. Julian Everett was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison and 20 years of supervised release on Friday. He was arrested in March of 2019 and pled guilty to sexually abusing and capturing sexual abuse material of several victims in his home. The cases spanned from 2005 to 2016, with 5 victims coming forward, 4 of which were minors at the time. Well, if you've driven through the town of Morningside recently, you've probably seen several stop sign cameras near school zones.
The town is, in fact, the only municipality in the county with these devices. CTV's Katira Jones is in Morningside with more on the new initiative.
In an effort to keep students safe as they go to and from school, the town of Morningside has installed stop sign cameras like these near school zones across the town.
And we want to seek that there are 0 violations, 0 collisions, 0 injuries, deaths, anything of the above.
The town of Morningside has recently put up 6 new stop sign cameras near school zones. The devices are located at 3 intersections, which include Ames Street and Morgan Road, Pine Grove Drive and Maple Road, and Buford Road and Marion Drive. Police Chief Dan Franklin says the new safety initiative is designed to increase pedestrian and driver safety while getting motorists to come to a complete stop at the stop signs.
The problem becomes if you're not stopping at the stop sign and the pedestrians are expecting you to stop at a stop sign, they may try and walk, and then if you have someone that doesn't stop, they could end up being hit.
The town was able to put up these devices thanks in part to House Bill 364 passing the Maryland General Assembly last year, which allows municipalities in Prince George's to install stop sign cameras near school zones and issue fines to violators. Now here in Morningside, the devices began operating on January 20th. In the first week, more than 200 fines went out to drivers.
So far, what we've been noticing is that we've had notices mailed for enforcement purposes. We have noticed a slight increase in compliance with the traffic devices. However, we still don't have the desired level of 100% compliance. Hopefully, that will accomplish that.
Drivers that are caught not stopping at the stop sign will get hit with a $40 fine, which police say is a civil violation. Katira Jones, CTV News.
All right, Katira, thanks so much for that report. And Franklin says as part of the agreement, the town gets a portion of the proceeds. Meanwhile, Metro bus riders may have noticed a special passenger with them today. In memory of civil rights activist Rosa Parks' birthday, a seat on every Metro bus was reserved for Parks today, honoring her work in fighting racial segregation on public transit. October will make 20 years since Parks passed away, but her legacy of civil disobedience still lives on. And still to come on CTV News, the race for the county executive seat is on.
That's right. After the break, we sit down with candidate Marcellus Cruz and find out how he would tackle the county's budget deficit and more. Stay with us.
What a difference a year makes, huh?
Hey.
Hey, we need a change.
Yeah. Remember when we talked about becoming Milton Hershey Schoolhouse parents? Well, what do you think? Did you see this?
We're moving to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
We're gonna impact so many lives together.
Come here, guys. Guess what?
Impact whose lives, Mom?
The students we'll be sharing a home with.
So what's next?
Maybe a road trip?
That would be fun!
Can you believe it? We're finally here.
Hey guys.
Hi guys, welcome.
Hi. Welcome to Hershey.
As house parents, your job is your home and these students. You're a professional parent now.
You get to help children grow while raising your own.
what a difference a year makes.
Yeah, come on.
It's a career unlike any other, where family is part of the experience. Become house parents at Milton Hershey School.
The special primary election for the county executive seat is just 1 month away. And the next coming week, CTV will bring exclusive interviews with each of those candidates.
And joining us in the studio today is candidate and business owner Marcellus Cruz. Thanks so much for being here with us today, Mr. Cruz.
I'm happy to be here.
So you've been a successful business owner for 15 years, but you don't have political experience at this county level. So how would you leverage the experience that you do have to come into the county and bring it up when it's dealing with a big budget deficit like it is?
I think it's time for change. I think it's time for someone with my experience. I've been in over 6,000 homes here in Maryland. We're in small businesses from healthcare to construction. In embassies. I'm also a state vendor. I work and we do conference rooms for the state. So I have been on the front lines. We've raised $6.6 million for the homeless veterans. We've done bone marrow drives. But bigger than that, I've been in our schools. And right now we need workforce economic development. We are missing a huge piece. My company deals with a lot of cutting edge stuff that we are missing in this county. It's time for us to innovate. From bioscience to NASA that we have here. We have the right ingredients. We have cybersecurity, quantum computing. All of these things we are missing. And I think it's time for us to innovate and go to a whole nother level. And so a lot of what my background brings from development, it's time for us to develop differently. This has become a bedroom county where we have to drive 30 minutes and 20 minutes just to the grocery store. Don't you all feel it? I know I feel it. It's time for us to build with urban living. It's just, there's so much that we can be doing. But most of all, workforce and economic development is what we need right now.
And you talk about economic development, that's being a major factor, but how do you plan on attracting new business to the county?
Oh, that's a great question. See, that's what I do. Now, so I know a lot of people wondering, where has he been? Well, I've been in the private sector. My company does work for the companies that build the Whole Foods, okay? We do work for a lot of other entities that would come here. They're ready for us to make a change. They're looking for new leadership, someone to take us into the future, not the past, not the present, but into the future. So in my book, Prince George's County has the largest registered small businesses of any other county. What are we doing? We're leaving them out of the conversation. They're the biggest, one of the biggest parts of the engine for economic growth. And so I come from that sector. What are we missing? We need certified workers. And so that's where you bring in education. So my plan is to bring in a new workforce where small businesses come to K through 12 education like we do for sports. We start getting our young people certified quicker, sooner, and faster. We give them apprenticeships quicker and sooner, starting in 6th grade.
And workforce development is a big part of the blueprint for Maryland's future, which is the education plan in the state. And Prince George's is set to receive the most funding from that, but we're hearing that there might be cuts. There's promises that, it will be leveled out over the years. The funding won't come as fast. So how will you secure that funding for the county?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Maryland's budget right now is centered around quantum computing, bioscience, all right, cybersecurity. All of those things are here. And if we have a leader who understands those and understands how do we pipeline a lot of our nonprofits and our businesses and our education system towards that, I believe we'll be able to bring a lot of that money here and help look inward and start building out. I think it's time for new leadership. a new vision.
Earlier you spoke about, residents having to travel outside of their, normal range to go and get some groceries. So what do you think the solution to that would be?
I love that question. First of all, we need to do what I called urban building. So, when we are building, a lot of times, let's take the stadium, all right? We built that stadium. What's around it? Go to the Nats Stadium. You see that ecosystem? That's how you build. You build, if you're going to bring in stores, you do condos on top. When you want to build a parking lot, let's build a high-rise parking lot, right? So that it's less, we're taking up less space and you can put more retail and vendors around that. I think it's time for people to be able to put on their flip-flops, come downstairs with their little pet, go to the little coffee shop, go shopping if they want, and go back home. Why are we getting in our cars and driving 30 minutes just to go to the grocery store or to the coffee shop? I think it's a different way that we have to go, and that takes new leadership. You see now the way they build, they're not going to change, but with new leadership, we will change. It starts from the top. Did I answer your question?
You did.
And those development projects, they're not cheap. That costs money. But can you promise Prince George's residents that you won't raise taxes if you become the county executive?
I promise not to raise taxes. My promise here is to say, as we innovate, as we ramp up workforce development, we're going to bring down taxes. That's my goal. I'm a business owner. All right, I think totally different. I think that we have to get back to the basics. Everybody wants their kid to get that internship. They want that kid to get ready for the next phase of their life. And my point here is who do they come to? People like me. Why would someone like me, who I'm doing well, jump into this race? It's because I believe it is time for us to get to a place where we're attracting people in business. We have the best education system than any other county.
So let's talk about the budget deficit. Currently, we're seeing a $170 million budget gap. But what do you see as some of the potential targets for cost cutting without compromising those essential services that we do need?
Cutting. Well, I think we're cutting now to the bone. I think it's time for investment. I think in business, sometimes we have to spend, sometimes we go in the red. But you're going in the red to make money. And so when I look at Prince George's County, we're losing money because we start on projects and then we stop, okay? I live by some of the projects that we started, Westphalia, and it's just sitting there. I think it's time that we move forward boldly so that we generate the money and the revenue that we are supposed to be getting right now. That's the way I look at budgets. You gotta grow. It's time for a renaissance here in this county, and I know we can. Rebranding, it's time for all of that. I know that I can bring back the businesses here. Why? Because they're watching this race. They want to see that we choose someone like myself that will attract a lot of them back here. It's time for us to get serious about where we're headed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure to tune in tomorrow. We'll be introducing another candidate, George McDermott, only on CTV News. And still to come on CTV News,
Simon Buggs is here with our Tuesday Sports page. Simon.
Guys, I went to an absolute nail-biter of a basketball game last night, and I have the highlights for you coming up on CTV Sports. You don't want to miss this. Be right back.
Prince George's Community Television, the home for everything Prince George's, is gearing up to start our media training and classes. Come to PGCTV and get hands-on training in field production, studio production, producing and directing, podcasting, and video editing, and take your skills to the next level. Register today. Classes begin March 5th.
Okay, everyone, it's time for your Tuesday sports page. Now, it was a great matchup last night as the 13-1 Flowers High School basketball team hosted Laurel. The Spartans have had a great year as well, coming into last night's game with double-digit wins also. And I talked to Jaguars head coach Brian Brooks before the game, and he gave his thoughts on what he wanted to see out of his team to get the win and how motivated his team was.
Playing with energy, playing with force, and remembering the last year we split with Laurel. But last year Laurel came here and beat us. I think they made a couple of videos and posted them online, how they walked in our trap and took over our trap. We didn't really like that because we beat them at that place, and we didn't do that, but we're not upset about it. But the kids have viewed that as motivation. We're kind of waiting on this day.
In the first quarter, Flowers struck first as number 10 for the team in Tyrell Bowles, cut to the basket and made this layup to give his team their first points of the night. Now the Spartans got off to a bit of a slow start as turnovers and this and-one bucket from Bowles had them down 7-2 to start the game. But plays like Gilbert Asafo picking Bowles' pocket to give his team the transition bucket and another and-one shot, this one from Christian Brown, helped the team cut the deficit as they were only down 12-11 at one point. Laurel was even able to take the lead at one point thanks to this nice bounce pass from Amadou Kaloga to Aiden Lee for the nice finish inside. The team traded leads for the rest of the quarter, but Laurel was able to finish it ahead as they were up 19-18 to end the period. The Spartans started the second quarter off strong as they were able to expand their lead to as much as 9. But the Jags knocking down their free throws and sophomore Brandon Brooks faking the dribble handoff to drive baseline for the reverse lay helped cut the Spartans' lead to only 36-34 going into halftime. In the third and much of the fourth quarter, it was all Laurel as the Jaguars couldn't contain them, and the Spartans led by as much as 14 points. But with a minute and some change left in the ball game, things began to get interesting. This three-pointer and free throws all made by Brooks as well as another clutch triple all helped lower Laurel's lead to just 5 points. But after this free throw made by Brown, the Spartans' lead was back up to 6 points with 32 seconds left. And Brooks showed off his clutch gene again soon after, nailing this three to make the score 77-74. Fouled by Brooks not too long after, Brown went to the free throw line to try and put the game away, and he hit one of 2 free throws to make the score 78-74 with only 15 seconds left to go in the game. Senior guard Joshua Nasai then raced the ball up the court, snatched the ball back and put up the three, but he was off. Forward Caleb Moore then hit this free throw to make the score 79-74 with 4 seconds left in the game. One more three from Brooks made the game closer, but Flowers couldn't complete their comeback, losing the game 79-77. Man, that was a heck of a game, you guys. There was more high school action last night as Bowie blew out Parkdale 64-25. Eleanor Roosevelt came out on top in a close game against Wise 79-73. And finally, Fairmont Heights put on a show for their home crowd, beating Surrattsville 79-44. In other basketball news, congratulations to the Terps men's basketball team for cracking the Associated Press's top 25 ranking. Maryland's ranked at number 18 on the list. The team has had a good year so far with a 17-5 record and a 7-4 record in Big Ten play. Maryland has also won 4 straight games. This is the first time the Terps have made the top 25 since February of 2023. Congratulations, fellas. And wrapping up sports, the Washington Wizards defeated the Charlotte Hornets last night 124-114. They will take the court next against the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow at 7:30. And that is your Tuesday sports page. Simon Bucks, CTV Sports.
All right, Simon, thanks so much. Let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight will be cloudy with wind gusts of up to 18 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we have a 70% chance of snow. We'll reach a high of 37 and a low of 31. Thursday, it's going to be 46 degrees and we have a 90% chance of rain. Friday will be nice and sunny with a high of 51.
And for our community calendar, tonight the Montpelier Arts Center is hosting a Black History Month book discussion. The discussion will highlight #1 New York Times bestseller, The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. The book tells the story of a young boy born into bondage who, after a close encounter with death, is met with a sense of urgency to escape the only home he's ever known. This event is from 7 to 9 in the evening. For more information, contact the center at 301-377-7800.
All right, that's all the time we have for now on CTV News. Thanks so much for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.